Some prisons are built to hold criminals. Others are built to break them. Hidden far from major cities, surrounded by isolation and silence, there once existed a prison so secretive that its true purpose was never officially acknowledged. On paper, it was described as a high-security detention facility. But survivors and later investigations suggested something far more disturbing. This was not just a prison. It was a system designed to ensure that no one truly survived it, mentally, physically, or historically. The facility was constructed in a remote location, chosen specifically to prevent outside observation. Thick concrete walls, narrow corridors, and heavily restricted cells were designed with control as the highest priority. Windows were rare, sunlight was limited, and time itself became difficult to track. Prisoners sent there were often labeled as high risk or politically sensitive. Their identities were rarely made public, and official records about their detention were minimal or heavily classified. Once inside, the rules changed. Communication was almost non-existent, isolation was routine, and silence was enforced. Cells were small, cold, and deliberately uncomfortable. Lighting conditions were inconsistent, sometimes constant brightness, sometimes prolonged darkness. This was not accidental. Psychological disorientation became part of the environment itself. Former accounts describe how prolonged isolation began to affect inmates within weeks. Without human interaction, their sense of reality slowly weakened. Days blended into nights, memory became unreliable, emotional stability started to collapse. But physical hardship was only one part of the system. Interrogation methods focused heavily on psychological pressure rather than visible force. Sleep disruption, sensory control, and extended confinement were reportedly used to observe how long a human mind could endure extreme conditions. The goal was not just containment, it was submission. Internal reports, later partially uncovered, suggested that administrators closely monitored behavioral breakdown patterns among inmates. Reactions to isolation, fear, and uncertainty were recorded as data rather than treated as humanitarian concerns. Over time, rumors about the prison began to spread. Transferred guards spoke of an atmosphere unlike any other facility, unusual silence in certain cell blocks, records of inmates that suddenly stopped updating. No official explanation was ever provided. Even more disturbing was the lack of release documentation. Many prisoners entered the facility, but very few were ever officially recorded as leaving it. Their files were marked as transferred, classified, or simply closed without details. Years later, when external investigators attempted to examine the prison's operational history, they encountered missing archives and restricted documents. Large sections of records had been sealed or removed entirely. Blueprints existed, funding logs existed, construction records existed, but inmate histories were incomplete. Some historians believe the prison functioned as an experimental model of extreme psychological containment. Others argue it was designed to detain individuals whose existence authorities preferred to keep hidden from public awareness. Eventually, the facility was quietly decommissioned. No major public announcement, no official acknowledgement of its true practices, just gradual abandonment. Today, the structure reportedly stands in partial decay, its corridors empty, its cells silent. Yet the questions surrounding its purpose remain unanswered. Was it truly just a prison, or was it a controlled environment designed to study human endurance under isolation and pressure? Because a prison built for justice keeps records, but a prison built for secrecy erases them. And perhaps the most chilling truth is this: some prisoners were never meant to survive long enough to tell their stories, not because they were forgotten, but because the system was designed that way. This is Uncharted Eras' dark history, uncovering the stories history tried to bury.